To start today, I'm going to ask a few rhetorical questions centered around the notion of politeness. The first is, do you take a different approach to politeness depending on who you are talking to? Second, does it also depend on the channel of communication? So for example, a phone call over social media or face-to-face. I took the opportunity in this class to work on a chapter titled How Academic Mothers Experience Face-Threatening Acts and Reinforcing Face Work on Instagram. My name is Amanda Grace Taylor. My pronouns are she, hers. And I'd first like to come back to the question at the beginning. Individuals have different notions about the concept of politeness. House in 2005 finds that some say that politeness is a guide in an expected guideline in socio-psychological interactions, emphatic communication, while Lee et al. In 2019 remarks that others might position politeness as a means to achieve interactive goals, such as framing one's ideas to have the best chance of reception in online community-based question and answer platforms. The channel of communication where politeness is not or is being demonstrated is also taken into account. For example, if the interaction is taking place on social networking sites that are open to the public or large groups of connections, it changes the level of what is deemed as appropriate or polite. Psychologist Henry Tafel, social identity theory, talks about how there are in-groups and out-groups. An in-group is postured as some interpersonal scholars to signify a group that feels that they share mutual aspects of identity, whereas out-groups will not share elements of the identity shared by the group as a whole. Another element that plays a part in navigating interactions in in-group and out-groups is identity. This chapter takes the position that politeness can be used as a form of social support and solidarity in an individual's in-group when presented in a public space such as over social media platforms. Specifically, this chapter focuses on in-groups of mothers of human children that are in higher education. In this presentation, I'd like to take you through the following: mothers in the academy, academic mothers in online communication channels, politeness theory, my research questions, methods and findings, discussion and conclusion, and application. The academy was not built with academic mothers in mind. Although significant strides have been made in higher education to be more inclusive of academic mothers, the first universities that were established in the 9th century, systematic oppression has kept working women and children from thriving in this place of work. A few examples that I provide in the paper are the following. One is very timely and ongoing, and studies have found that women are still primarily contributors of household chores and childcare. So it is yet to be determined if deadlines and grant proposals reports are going to be postponed for academic mothers as to not disproportionately affect women during the pandemic. Other examples are time constraint considerations, whereas biological and tenured time clock are set to go at the same time. So the average age to graduate with a PhD and enter the tenure track coincides with biological likelihood of pregnancy in general goes down. The third example I'll give here is that service positions in the academy are primarily held by women, but are not considered in promotions. They do, however, grant the voice to an opportunity to voice concerns. So these shared obstacles like this from this in-group have led to some academic mothers going online. Computer-mediated communication, or CMC, has offered a way to defy time and space. In the book edited by Michelle Moravec in 2011, Motherhood Online. You can, the picture displays the title, the cover of the book here. It addresses many ways in which modern mothers are engaging on online communities. The work speaks to how online communities can shape stages for motherhood and pregnancy to child rearing and teenage years. The online context I focus on here is Instagram, as according to Business Apps in 2001, Instagram has grown to include 1.38 billion users. Instagram is primarily a photo sharing site where users can interact. Hashtags can be used as captions in the captions or the comments while users post. And I argue here that hashtags are used to create a specific community around conversations. These conversations may take forms in public comments to post. So I consider here the specific hashtag of hashtag academic mother. The theoretical framework I use to guide this study is politeness theory. Politeness theory is predicated on Goffman's notion of face and claims universal application. According to Goffman's face notion, it can be defined as, and I quote, a positive social value a person effectively claims for himself, herself, or themselves by the line others assume he has taken during a particular contact, end quote. That is to say that a person's face is the image they want other people to see in social interaction. Brown and Levinson's 1987 politeness theory considers how individuals use the language to save public image of ourselves and another. When encountering or anticipating difficult interactions, or what's known as a face-threatening action, FTA, it is important to know what strategy of language that can achieve our communicative goals. Brown and Levinson offer 4 politeness strategies that can be displayed in this model here. The 4 universal politeness strategies of navigating face-threatening acts are positive politeness, which is roughly the expression of solidarity, negative politeness, which is roughly the expression of restraint, and off the record politeness, which is just politeness. And then, yeah, so those are the 3 ways you can take. You can also go off the record and just straight up do the face-threatening act. Using these strategies have effects on relational outcomes. To address the gap in literature and increase understanding of the interaction of academic mothers' identity, politeness theory in inductive approaches was taken. So my research questions were in 2 sets. The first set were exploratory, where I considered the relationship. The first one asks, are academic mothers experiencing face-threatening acts on Instagram? And the second, if so, what politeness strategies are being used by the responders in the comments of the Instagram posts? The second block of questions were, what face-threatening acts are being discussed under the hashtag academic mothers? And the second, how is reinforcing face work taking place under hashtag academic mothers? The research questions were answered by means of qualitative data analysis. Data was scraped by using a software called Octoparse, which is a data extraction tool that has optimized and pushed data scraping. And it generated 282 posts that were sorting to a criterion set. Findings when seeking to answer research question 1 found that only 8% of posts analyzed involve face-threatening acts, either presented in the image or caption or comment section. The second research question 2A asked if face-threatening acts were being discussed under hashtag academic mothers. To answer this question, both FTA and overt FTA were taken into consideration. For example, we would consider the two posts of this mother of, we would consider two posts of mothers where they reported work during maternity leave. And this displays side by side. The image on the left shows a computer with two documents open with a pile of books stacked by the computer. And the image to the right shows a woman sitting at her chair, typing on the computer and holding her baby in the other hand. More examples were given in the paper in the findings, but for time purposes, I won't go into it more here. Finally, research question 2B asked how reinforcing face work taking place under hashtag academic mothers. When reinforcing face work was needed, the data revealed that it was often the person that initiated the post that responded to initiating framework. Few had response to the original poster, with others being reinforced. So for the discussion, overwhelmingly, there were positive politeness strategies left by commenters in the post, commenters wanted to know that they were liked and or supported. In several situations, empathy was spoken to as individuals formed communities. Politeness strategies played a part in a majority of the posts as strategic communication was considered to the original poster's feelings. Phenomenons to take into consideration here are something like social cognition, where some individuals experience thoughts of comparison when on social media and others experience social support. No conclusions were being made about the entire population about academic mothers in this paper. However, instead, the study briefly looked into the lived experiences of academic mothers using the hashtag academic mothers on Instagram in a given time. Some academic mothers go online to gain community and support. Politeness theory can be conceptualized in discussion to claim these three praxis. One, acknowledge the challenge of academic mothers in the academy, as this will allow for individuals to identify how they might be harming the community. Two, it is left to reimagine ways and goals that can be pursued for individuals to identify the best strategies for how they can support. And finally, number three, it can shape and assist and maintain interpersonal relationships by way of Instagram by empowering one to take control of presenting themselves to others the way they would like to be presented. So finally, I'd like to make a note here and thank Dr. Hanasono and my peer reviewers for their helpful feedback. I definitely have taken that into consideration. I believe this chapter is important for in-groups seeking support and for out-groups and their desire to show support through language on social media. Thank you.